Alright, real quick, time for Knights devlog number 23, and gonna get some opening stuff out. I might put a comment thing in the description on where to skip to if you don't want to hear this opening bit and just go straight to the gameplay section, but this is important regardless. But anyway, so regarding the whole, Google Play thing, I've decided not to have online servers, at least not at launch. And the reason for that is because the main reason I wanted it in the first place was longevity, number one, and number two, it's just a cool thing to have inherently. It makes the game better. But I realized that there was a lot of logistical problems to it, not just by making it happen. I mean, like, from a design standpoint, these stages have relatively few enemies, and those enemies are relatively slow and stuff, So if you just had 4 people, unless I increase the amount of enemy health, damage, and speed to compensate, and or just spam enemies, the game would be a cakewalk with 4 more players. And I get that that's not really, difficulty is not a concern. I said that at an earlier point in this devlog series, but I want the game to at least exist. Difficulty is not the main thing. Of course I want some kind of challenge and progression. But breezing through the whole experience in 15 minutes is not something I want to happen. It's something that's going to happen inevitably. I doubt the game will be 30 minutes long even as it is, but whatever. At least from my perspective, it's not. Of course, where I'm the guy who made it and all, I can get through the stages significantly faster than someone on a fresh install can, but whatever. Regarding the next public build, currently the only public build available only has content up to stage 2, only has playable Gregor, and Thomas's skin. That's currently all that's in the public build, also controller support, I guess. The next public build, the goal with that is to get stage 1 through 4, nameless and a skin on top of that, and potentially a few other things like the Black Book, which is a thing that may or may not happen this early in a development. We'll see. And once I get that done, I'm going to get a test build up for Android, and that'll go out to a few people. And then once the final build of the game gets completed, I'll upload it to Google Play. So there will not be a public Android build until much later, unless the first build I try is really, really functional, and then I'll add a link to it on the main public build page, because the PC builds are inherently going to be more stable with less work to them. It'll take more work to get the Android ports more stable, as you know, screen resolution size and boss triggers and stuff being, mapped to a certain X and Y value and stuff. So it'll take some fine-tuning to get it to work properly on those devices. Not impossible, but yeah. Expect the public build to be up sometime by early to mid-June, and the first footage for the Android test builds that I myself cannot record, expect that to be sometime around mid to late June as well. I'll be working on stage 5 on top of that, but the first Android build will not launch with stage 5, even if I get that done before it's supposed to, because that's not the main priority with the Android build, and I won't really be working on it as consistently as the computer build. I'll only transfer stuff over to the Android build for the most part. And yeah, that's really all I needed to say. So it looks like at about 4 minutes into the video is when actual gameplay starts, I guess, which would be now. I'm going to pick Gregor for this, and I'm going to show off stage 4, which is basically done. I still have to do textures and stuff, but there's the description. And essentially what the description is saying is that the library and the mines are connected. You can read the mines description. They're connected, and the mines is the forces of Blackmoor's army trying to break through into the library, and the library is currently being taken over by Schlurgel's forces from Rise of the Grunts. So essentially it's a 3-way, basically 3 different parties are trying to get to this spell book to break the seals at the same time. That's the story behind the library. And the boss of this stage actually isn't a member of Blackmoor's army at all. So we'll start. As you can see, I've kind of started the texture work. I still need to color in the wood panels and do shading, but whatever. And that's the one part that's textured at all. Anyway, we're going to move on to the first new enemy of the stage, the Skullgrin, which you guys know these from Rise. They have a standard slash, and then they do the teleporty thing. Yep, that's how the Skullgrin work. They have like 60 health, which is ludicrous, but whatever. By the way, this area is full of gruntuses. Here we have the Gorejaw, also known as horrible. God, the Gorejaw are just, like, they do the most damage out of any normal enemy. They're the only normal enemy that are capable of staggering the player. They have, I believe, 70 health, and they have the highest knockback resistance of any normal enemy. So, yeah, the Gorejaw are kind of, I don't want to say scary, but yeah, they're that. At least for this point in the game. Stage 4 is quite difficult, in all honesty, and here we'll fight the first mini-boss of the game, which would be the Singe, which is a reskin of Vindictus. I say reskin, it really just uses his 2 animations from him and the same body shape. Everything else is new. But yeah, the Singe, in terms of lore, I'm going to explain this briefly, is it's a recreation of Victor, the guy from the intro. It's a recreation he made of himself, because he's an egotist, in the shape of, you know, armor. Basically, armor he would wear, and he made it, basically put a spirit into it. So it's possessed armor, essentially, in Victor's image. That's the lore behind the Singe. That's what they are. And they are, in this level, they're basically just sent out to, like, go for the book. So that's basically the Blackmoor boss of the area, even though it's not the main boss of the area. Now, the main boss of the area has something to do with Schlurgle's forces in a way. It's a bigger Skullgrin called the Fractured One, and here he is wiggling out, being chained to the ceiling. And you drop down into the arena, and he drops down too, and you start the fight. And this is probably my favorite boss so far. I think it's a really, really good fight. So whenever he does that move where he raises up his hands, those spikes on the ground come up. Every time he flies up like that, he's shooting those 2 projectiles out from the side. And every time he arches back, he shoots the fireball. When his tail does the thing, and he starts making the weird poses, he's going in for a scorpion sting move. I'm going to try and get like that. And those are all 4 of his moves. And I think it's a pretty good fight, in all honesty. It's got its own flow to it. He does do quite a bit of damage, but yeah, I don't think it's a particularly difficult fight. Well, yeah, it is kind of difficult for this point in the game, but I don't think it's impossible is what I'm saying. You have to learn the fight, but I think it's quite good. We are completely ignoring this right here, this red stage here. If you know, you know. I'm going to show you the description, but I'm not going into the stage. Some of you have seen it, some of you haven't, whatever.